Here is the truth. Fighting a war without end will not force the Iraqis to take responsibility for their own future. And fighting in a war without end will not make the American people safer. Barack Obama, Democratic presidential candidate.
Welcome back to Inside Iraq. We are discussing the beginning of the end, perhaps. The U.S. troop withdrawal from Iraq with Robert Gard, Wafiq Al-Samaarai, and Ilyas Hanna. Ilyas, the surge gave some sort of a security gains, but has it affected national reconciliation, which was the very heart and the very reason for sending the extra troops? So far, it has not happened.
I think that the Iraqis are caught in something highly complex game. It is regional and it is local, you know what I mean? Because after this election, the political system of Iraq has changed radically, and everybody is not okay with everybody, you know what I mean? So within the internal play, if you don't have really stability, which is totally linked to a security situation, which is totally related to a political improvement, there will be no total withdrawal for the American troops in Iraq. So this is very complex situation, because this is what David Petraeus said. General David Petraeus said that this gain is reversible. We can go back to a civil war. Moreover, what made the situation work, it is the surge. It is the change of the Iranian behavior, it is the sahwa, and it is a lot of formulas that get together in order to make the surge or improve the situation, the security situation in Iraq.
Robert Gard, let's look perhaps at the most concrete plan so far on the table, and that is by Senator Obama. He wants the U.S. troops to start coming home, 1 brigade a month. Perhaps within 16 months, all U.S. troops will be withdrawn. Is that realistic? And how do you see his relationship with military commanders on the ground, now that Oderno is the top military commander in Iraq?
Well, Senator Obama has hedged on that particular plan by stating that there would be U.S. troops left behind in a training role and as necessary to go after al-Qaeda. But the basic question that you're asking, and that Senator Obama commented on, was that as Commander-in-Chief, he must take into account all the security situation of the United States. He takes advice from the commander who is responsible for one particular theater of operation, but he cannot simply accept what his military commander suggests, because he has greater responsibilities. I think he was absolutely correct on that score.
Wafiq Al-Samaarai, everybody, whether in the U.S. or in Iraq, whether it is Al-Sahwa, the U.S. Army, the Iraqi Army, Muqtada Sadr, and the rest, they're all in a wait-and-see game. Everybody wants to find out what is going to happen next year.
Yes, that's true. They are waiting for the U.S. withdrawal. But as I mentioned earlier, the withdrawal, if it is conducted at a large scale, it will result in a huge impasse in Iraq. And if it is too slow, it will cause the United States to lose many of its strategic credibility. Therefore, the number of withdrawals should be hiked, yet in accordance with the factors on the ground. I always stressed that the United States has not utilized its strategic capabilities to deter the other parties intervening negatively in the Iraqi affairs. If the United States would like to withdraw their forces speedily, they must deter foreign sides from intervening into the Iraqi affairs, and here I mean Iran.
Ilyas Hanna, you wanted to comment on what General Petraeus recommended to the president, as well as what Obama says, and that is he in the future might overrule military commanders, even if the judgment is that we need more troops and those troops should remain in Iraq.
I think there is some new realities in the world now, and especially in the United States, as far as the civil-military relationship is concerned. We have more militarized politicians and we have more politicized militaries. So I think that we have to differentiate between two speeches. The electoral speech first, and then when you are elected and you want to deal with the real world that is highly complex. I think that what, for instance, George Bush Sr. did, Clinton continued. And what George W. Bush, the genius, is doing is continuing what Clinton said. I think that in the real world, he will coordinate very closely with his, you know, think or you know, the military people. So in this perspective, I don't think that one brigade a month, because there is 15 BCT brigade combat team in Iraq. I don't think that it is doable unless there is calm situation and a political reconciliation in Iraq and the good relationship with Iran, and this is not yet in sight.
Robert Gard, a year ago, the American nation, the American people were gripped by Iraq. We saw the horrific images, and we saw people, they were sick and tired of this war. Today, the news is the economy. Lehman Brothers, AIG, and Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae. Iraq has been relegated perhaps to the third or fourth or even fifth position. With the increase of the economic woes of the United States, will the calls rise for bringing the boys home?
It's hard to say. As you rightly point out, the attention is on the economy now, but of course there is a connection between spending $12 billion a month in Iraq and alternative uses for those funds to help bolster up the economy. When that connection gets made with the body politic, it could be that more attention will be paid to what's going on in Iraq. If I may, I would like to comment on one of the previous observations, namely, as General Petraeus said, you do not kill or capture your way out of an industrial scale insurgency. Political and economic factors are vitally important. That's the basis on which this conflict must end.
Wafiq Al-Samaarai, looking at the timeline of 2011, do you believe that the Iraqi government will sign an agreement that will keep a portion of US troops in Iraq, or will Iraqi parliament reject any form of what they term as occupation?
At the moment, it is very difficult to state that the American-Iraqi deal would be sealed. It should be presented to the parliament, and there are grave obstacles, and the parliament might not endorse the deal. On the other hand, and in relation to the deadline of 2011, I believe it is very specific, and it is very difficult at the moment to envisage a complete withdrawal of US troops by 2011. However, it is also believed that we can expect certain withdrawal from certain cities from Iraq.
The reason why I bring this, Ilyas Hanna, because of Wafiq Al-Samaarai alluded to the fact that Iraq is in a very dangerous neighborhood, primarily Iran. So despite the political and military and economic woes of the United States, do you ever envisage a situation where the US troops will pack and leave Iraq, this important geopolitical country in the neighborhood of an expanding Iran?
I think that Iraq is the center of gravity of the American strategy, whether Barack Obama is elected or McCain is elected, because if you look at the surrounding of Iraq, you see Iran, you see now Georgia, you see the Caucasus, the situation in Georgia, you see the political maneuver of Iran, of Turkey, and you see the political maneuver of the Arab world. So now, if I think that according to Mackinder, what he had said in 1904, the heartland of the world, the main battle of the world, it is not in the Eurasian plain anymore. I think that it's in the Central Asia, it is in the Arab world and the Gulf, and it's in Africa. So this situation, the whole situation in the future depends on what's going to happen in Iraq. I don't see any withdrawal so soon from Iraq, and I think that when America came to Iraq, it destabilized the situation. Iraq used to play a balancer between the regional powers. If the United States withdraws now from Iraq, the balance of power will be shifted. We will see Turkey in Iraq, Iran in Iraq, and maybe the Arabs and Syria and Iraq. So this is a very chaotic system for the United States that cannot afford in the near future and maybe in the long-term prospect.
Brigadier General Ilyas Hanna, retired. Wafiq Al-Samaarai, Robert Gard. Gentlemen, thank you for being guests on Inside Iraq. To access the show and to send us your comments, please go to aljazeera.net/English. That's all the time we have for this week. Join me next week when we take another look inside Iraq. Until then, goodbye.